Hello everybody and welcome. Today I just want to talk to you about Lightroom. I know that usually I'm big on Photoshop, but Lightroom is a photo editor for photographers, okay? And so any of the real high-end photography, and this is different than like say advertising. Advertising is more Photoshop, whereas photographers like to use Lightroom. Now, this is just like and I'm gonna show you the mobile version of it today. So we're just gonna go, this is it in the App Store, and so I'm just gonna open it. And here we are in the actual app. Now, it's pretty awesome. I just got to say I'm actually pretty impressed with this, and I'm going to show you why. First, we're going to take a couple of photos using Lightroom, just of my living room here. I'm sitting at my desk looking out at the front window. I'm just going to hit the small camera button at the bottom right, and you have to give it access to your camera, that type of thing. Okay, so this is my living room. You can see how the window is really bright right now. My son's out there on his skateboard and my dog's out there. And I've got a camera on a tripod on the bottom left there. I'm going to show you a couple of different shots here. And so in the bottom left of the screen, you've got some options. You've got HDR, and then I'm just going to go to automatic and just take a automatic photo right now. Okay, I'm just going to hit the shutter. And that's that. And we know that, say like within our automatic settings in the regular camera, maybe I can click over here and the camera adjusts for there. And now everything becomes dark because the camera is adjusting for where I clicked in that front window. I'm going to take a picture there. Now I'm going to click over where the camera is in the bottom left, and it adjusts for there, but we can see the window is blown out, taking a picture. Okay, let's have some fun now. Let's go into the other settings. I'm going to go into the high dynamic range, HDR, and this is actually a task that I give in, like say, like grade 12 Comtech, where I go into high dynamic range. And what that does is that it takes the shadows and it takes the highlights and it does a nice blend of everything all together. Let me explain. Whereas if I were to click over there, let's just try and take let's go into our exposure here. Let's go into the bottom left there where it clicks on exposure, and I can just adjust how much I'm exposing. Now let's just look at this right now automatically. You can see here how the camera is automatically, the window is no longer blown out, and yet I can see the camera. That in itself, that's what HDR is. So it's picking up where all the spots in the it's getting the best of both worlds. It's adjusting for not only the shadow area, but it's also adjusting for the highlight area. You see a heck of a lot of real estate photography with this. So I'm just going to click on that. And I've taken an HDR photo. Now let's go into my editing here. Let's get out of my camera. And I'm going to go into my photos. This is the shot where it's just the auto setting. This is where I adjusted for the window, and it's adjusting the camera for what we can, so we can see what's outside, but everything else is too dark. Now I adjusted it to see what's inside the house. However, the HDR pretty much, well, it's not bad, but we're going to adjust that further. Okay, let's go to light. So here you've got all these settings down at the bottom here, and you got selective. Now, it depends on what version of you have. If you have the free version, if you have the school version. I have the full-blown version because I paid for it at home. But I think that's not all these features are available in your school version of it if you log in with your GoTVDSB account. But what does work, I know, is that if I go into light, and this is pretty awesome right here. If I can just go into my exposure, I can adjust the overall exposure. And even right there, that's pretty awesome. Let's go to highlights. See, now what highlights is doing is just adjusting the highlights. I'm going to bring that all the way down to the very bottom because I want to see as much of the outside as possible. Then I'm going to go to my shadows. My shadows, I'm going to bring my shadows right up. So look at that. I can have, that's pretty amazing. You've got all the shadows. You can see the camera is in really, you can see the camera perfectly. You can see the outside perfectly. And then you've got some more, but I think that I don't really need to play with a heck of a lot more. Let's show you a couple other quick things. Let's go to color. Color is color temperature. You want something to look like, sometimes it looks like it's lit by like a fluorescent room or looks cold, or you want something to look really like super hot, but frankly, you just want that nice middle ground. Just warm it up just a little bit there. And then the last thing I'm just going to show you, effects. You can do like some little adjustments here. This is just a little sharpness, blurry type of thing here. Dehaze, sometimes kind of you give it kind of like, this is good if you want to give something like a dreamy type of look, which doesn't fit right here. However, what I really want to show you is the vignette. Vignette is, you see a lot in Lightroom photography, and you really know if somebody uses Lightroom if they have this like really dark edge on the around it. If you go the other way, it does like a white one. But if you just bring that down just a little bit, it just brings your attention to the subject. It's really good for, like, say, portrait photography. You're taking a picture of somebody. Let's be done with that right now. There's a ton more settings here, and actually probably the other one that I would probably recommend you using is the crop one. Just for, it's a lot like what you see in any photo. Let's just say okay with that. It's just like you see in any type of photo cropping thing. Let's get out of here. And then so now what's kind of nice to see the difference here is there's the regular one. There's the one that's too dark. There's the one that's too light. And then there's our HDR one, where you can see absolutely everything. That's pretty remarkable. Okay, a couple other quick little settings here. Let's just go back to the camera. Let's get out of here. Can I get out of here? I want to get out of here and go back to the camera. Now let's go to the Pro. Down at the bottom left here, instead of HDR, we're going to go to Professional. And this is really nice. You've got things like exposure. You've got shutter speed here. It doesn't go an ISO right in your iPhone. Let's go to, let's click on shutter speed. Now you can see here everything's moving here and everything's kind of following along really well. If I adjust that to, like, say right there is like 1/4 of a second, I'm going to take a picture while moving the camera. All right, I hope that took that picture. I'm going to take another one just to be sure. Okay, so what that did, everything's all blurry now. Let's go back and I can compensate with, say, ISO, which is the sensitivity of the sensor. There we go. Also, you could just have like a general exposure, which is kind of like aperture, I'm thinking, but you don't have the, because of the lens that the camera has, you don't have the features of depth of field. But what's nice is that you can do a lot of manual features using the Lightroom app in photography. Why would I want to use have a slow shutter speed? Well, say if I had the camera standing still and then like somebody was running past, then you could have like a blurry type of that person running past would be blurry. Or if you had some like rushing water, that would be blurry. It has a completely different effect to it. Okay, that's what and also what's also kind of neat is that if you have the desktop version of Lightroom, it also syncs all your photos through the cloud on your desktop version of it, which is really slick. Okay, so I find that very interesting. You might want to give that a shot while you're doing your photography project. Okay, good luck.